Good morning. This is Dwight Colby Smith in Richmond, Virginia. That's not how I introduce myself on the calls. It's interesting. But I'm going to read what we covered last Tuesday, which was the 1st of January, 2019. So Happy New Year to you all. Again, I see it as a year where we'll see more peace on earth than last year until we get to that place. And I've been thinking this morning and recently that the founders of America, following our Declaration for Freedom, and then finally England giving us this freedom, we freed ourselves from the oppression of government. And I thought, America was to be the light of the world, showing that we could have heaven on earth in a governed diversity of people, of cultures, of all this, that America knew this is what we were going to become. We would be inviting the world to come to a place where everyone was free to be themselves, religious-wise, culture-wise, every-wise. And I only bring this up because last Tuesday, my brother Nathaniel showed me his I'll just call them his leisure pants. They were like a U.S. flag. And he said that he knew that I'd be very proud of that. And I said, yeah, really, but not the America that is, but the America that was conceived and intended to be from 1776. So I'm an old patriot attempting to bring the old dream alive so that America can be the window for the world to see how we can coexist with respect and joy and all this. And I only say this because that's what these letters are for. Many of us, if we've come up in traditional religion, have felt very controlled and very conflicted and very unwhole or unhealthy or whatever. Even though we were saying we were love and everything, we were finding exceptions to that everywhere we looked. And our, well, the way we were taught, as Christians, that we're special because we're Christian, because we've accepted Jesus. We have heaven, and Christ has come to say, this is not what I taught. This is not what I was about. I was about freedom then, and I'm about freedom now, because if you do not free yourselves, you remain in the devastation and the hell that you keep creating. So for those who want hell on earth, they've got it. For those who want heaven on earth, we've got it. And I look forward to the day when the power of love supersedes the love of power. And it's only a matter of time. This is our normal, natural evolution of our humanhood. Capital H, capital U, hyphen men. Hugh is spirit, of spirit man, coming into the spirit of us. And this is why Christ came. That's why Christ came through Jesus 19 years ago, that came to bring this truth to the world. The world didn't get it then. It has been getting, it has been evolving. And now there's enough of us who have evolved all over our world by whatever name we call ourselves. There are enough of us now that the light is here. And the more brilliantly we allow this light to radiate through us, the more of it available on the earth, the more of it is going to affect the energy consciousness of the earth until we're all brothers and sisters. And I see it as a very natural, normal evolution, contagion of the true value of what love is and what it is not. First of all, it's the truth of us. So, well, enough. Let's go to the letter. So if you're reading along, I will give you the starting pages. Or if you just want to sit and meditate, that's fine too. But if you're reading from Christ Returns, Reveals Startling Truth, it's page 318, paragraph 4. And you can stop after each of these so I don't have to describe them. If you're reading from Christ Returns, Speaks His Truth, the first edition, I don't have the second, it's page 363, paragraph 3. If you're reading from the ebook, it's page 279, paragraph 5. If you're reading from the original manuscripts, it's page 16, the bottom of the page. If you're reading from the first draft, going into the first publication, it's page 12, the bottom of the page. And if you're reading from the second draft before publication, it's page 231 and the third from the bottom reading. It's kind of all jumbled there. So that's it. We'll do a quick meditation. It's all about freedom, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about freedom. So let's take a moment, if you're not driving, to just relax. To just allow the body to be fully absorbed into the chair supporting it, or the bed, or whatever we're sitting or lying on. Just give it the full power to support our whole body. It takes no effort on our part to be supported. Allow the mind to be clear of thought, of worry, of fear, of concern, of doubt. Allow the mind to be open and receptive to the truth that within us knows as true. And we listen to it. It digests this truth of Christ into our own individual life, our style, our culture, our language, our everything. Christ speaks directly to the Christ of each of us. What a blessing. Revealing the truth that's already within us, freeing us from anything to fear. For love is inclusive and freeing and beautiful, regardless of any appearance going on around it. It sees itself into and as everything that is. It is the very God essence of the universe. The pure intelligence, the pure love, the pure power to express this love from an infinity of possibilities. Each of us have chosen to be together at this time to bring Christ's special message to us. And as we receive it in its purest form, the truth that frees me and everyone in my world to be all that we are meant to be, all that we desire to be. For we're meant to be Christ. We're meant to be the truth of us. We're meant to live in harmony with one another, assisting one another without depleting ourselves, negotiating any conflict, to come to a resolve for the highest and best good for ourselves and our world. To know we are supported at all times and all ways. For this is the law of the universe. I'm thankful to Christ as He's come forth through these letters in 2000, the beginning of this millennium, this century, this time where we can affect a dramatic change in our humanity. Just by visioning a higher self, a more loving self. And know that this loving self attracts everything to itself to be fulfilled. As I am fulfilled by those who love me, they also go forth and fulfill those that love them. And by December 31st, 2019, we can see peace on earth if we learn to love instead of fear. And fear is only a backward use of love, which is almost evolve, isn't it? Love spelled backwards, EVOL, almost evolve. This is what we're doing. This is what Christ has given us, to evolve into the truth of ourselves by allowing anything less to just fall away, to have no power, no attention. I just focus on the oneness of all life working together. I see it in nature. I know the creative nature is the creator of humankind. And I know humankind can make adjustments on our nature consciousness for us to live without killing, without stealing, without hoarding. This is how we're meant to be. And as we learn this, so will our world. Christ promises us that when human has created heaven on earth, there'll be no more death, no more killing, no more disasters, no more disease. We truly create the kingdom of heaven, the Garden of Eden, by finding it within ourselves first. I just give thanks for this time that we have had. And to give thanks as we open ourselves to the letters and have Christ bring forth the lesson for us at this time. I just let this time exist throughout the rest of this reading and for the days, weeks, months ahead, knowing this is a year that each of us find the kingdom of heaven for ourselves and do our best to bring it forth into the world. We are the light, we are the masters, we are the ones we have been waiting for. And the journey is fun, easy, playful, joyful, supported all the way. For it's the law that Christ talks about. It's the law of the universe that supports itself opulently through everything. Lack only exists where we believe in lack. Or if we try to live beyond our means, we call it lack. So we come to these letters with open minds and open hearts, ready for our daily bread, our nourishment and nurturement, for our continued unfoldment into mastering ourself, mastering our world. I accept these words, these ideas, these visions, these truths as wholly sustainable and maintainable, as presented from the Christ to the Christ, for the Christ. And all the energies needed to bring these into full fruition are attracted to it And anything less is just neutralized, transformed, transcended, transmuted. So the earth learns to live in peace and harmony and ease with one another. It's happening right here and right now. Even with just you and me, it is happening. And so I am thankful for it. And I release it to Christ to do its work with ease and health and wellness for all involved. And it is in letting it be so, that it is so. For the vision, unless conflicted in any way, holds true. And there's nothing in this moment in time, anything to conflict with it. So it goes forth in its purity, bringing forth its kingdom that we all desire at our heart center. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. For me, this is what this freedom looks like, what it feels like, and we have the vision. So, wow. Hmm. Okay, so going to the letter. For you to fully understand what I am talking about, I want you to strive to visualize and realize that the nature of divine consciousness of universal equilibrium is limitless power. Since the equilibrium harmony arises out of equal constraint between the universal impulses of the male and female, masculine, feminine, intelligence and love, the will to experience and the will to remain acquiescent, again, masculine, feminine, the yearning to be active, and the yearning to hold back and maintain the status quo. Always in equilibrium and yet just energy in order to form bonds and stability. Okay, so all this goes on before we're formed. All this, that's why Christ keeps telling us, even in all through the letter, that there is no solidity to form. It's just compressed energy. But there's space in around and as everything that is. So everything is just space becoming a part of itself in form. These primal impulses. So, Christ has just talked about the intimacy of intercourse and conception, and that at that moment of ecstasy between father and mother, their consciousness comes through the seed and the egg, okay? And those two consciousnesses become one consciousness. They intermingle and interfere with each other. So now he's taken us back into the science of it. Instead of the male-female intercourse, he's taken us into the masculine-feminine of energy itself, that from which everything comes. These primal impulses of being, as I explained in letter 4, are the reality which has given life, form, shape, being to all visible things. This dimension is a state of beauty, joy, harmony, rapturous ecstasy, reverence, intelligence, love. It is all that the earth can demonstrate, but on a scale beyond your even remotest conceptions. So my vision, and it came through the meditation, my vision for humanity is huge. And Christ is saying, that's nothing. You want to see what it really is capable of being. Okay? So, as I say, before I die, I just want to get to the consciousness of Jesus. I don't have to go to the beyond. I just want to get to that to feel, and I feel very satisfied with where I am and where I'm going. Try to take into your consciousness the meaning of the two foregoing paragraphs. And I'm not going to reread them. I usually do live, but I'll allow you, if you'd like, to just rewind and replay the a few minutes ago up to now. Try to take in, well, maybe even 2 minutes. Try to take into your consciousness the meaning of the two foregoing paragraphs, understanding and making the meaning your very own. This will change your whole perspective of your divine origins and of existence itself. Again, I'm taking, because Christ has taken us to the level of energy. He's taken us to the beginning of our beginning. I have described to you the nature and essence of life, which comes into action within the sperm and ovum when they are united in giving form to a child. But now take this outward into energy, which is, well, the birth of the child is just the expression, a physical expression of all that's going on in a spiritual realm, higher realm. This is your truth, your reality, your soul, your psyche, your deepest state of being. It's to recognize that we're energy. All of us are energy. And it gives meaning to how we're expressing, why we're expressing, why we get the things that we want in our lives, why we get the things that we don't want in our lives. Because this truth is always, always, always working. So we always, always have to be looking to it, and what am I putting into it? Because that's what it's going to give back to me. So Christ begets Christ. Anything less begets anything less. Instinctively, you are aware of this. The baby is the embodiment of joy. The joy it expresses as it develops consciousness of its relationship's environment comes out of the deep well of divine life, which has grown it, cell by cell, according to genetic instructions, into its present form. What is the difference between the soul and psyche? I am now going to explain the difference, which your earthly psychologist may dispute, but nonetheless, this is the truth. The soul is the divine flame, a metaphor used to describe the essence of divine life, which is drawn into individual being at the moment of conception. Life force takes on personal form and releases the energy of electrical force of activity and the magnetic impulses of bonding rejection to embark on the intricate work of construction of the body. Therefore, you have at the core of your being, your soul, divine reality. This is divine intelligence, divine love, which is the powerful divine impulse to create, grow, nourish, nurture, heal, protect, fulfill every need within a system of perfect law and order. This is the reality, which is your soul. And this is what came about in the meditation, so I invite you to listen to that again if you want. That was pretty hefty. Nice vision for 2019. Therefore, when you have overcome the ego impulses and invited the soul to hold dominion in your thoughts and feelings, you will be driven to express all of the divine impulses described above. You'll be possessed by a desire to only promote the highest good of all living things and the universe itself. You will have become a true messenger from divine consciousness expressing all its qualities of being. Until that time of soul reunification with divine consciousness, the psyche occupies the deepest recesses of your human consciousness and draws its awareness from your soul. It is the hidden instinct within you, which knows right from wrong. I'm going to reread this from the first person just because, okay. Therefore I have at the core of my being, now hear this from within. In fact, if you can, just close your eyes and feel the Christ within you calling this forth as is claimed as the I. Therefore I have at the core of my being, my soul, my divine reality. It is divine intelligence, divine love. This is the powerful divine impulse to create, grow, nourish, nurture, heal, protect, fulfill every need within a system of perfect law and order. This reality is my soul. Therefore, when I have overcome my ego impulses and invited my soul to hold dominion in my thoughts and feelings, I am driven to express all of the divine impulses described above. I possess by a desire to only promote the highest good of all living things and the universe itself. I have become a true messenger from divine consciousness, expressing all its qualities of being. Until this time of soul reunification with divine consciousness, my psyche occupies the deepest recesses of my human consciousness and draws its awareness, its the divine consciousness awareness from my soul into my consciousness. It has been the hidden instinct within me, which now knows and becomes right and perfect and whole only. Okay, I'll go back to reading the letter the way it is. The ego is also formed at the moment of conception. As the baby develops, the ego begins to make itself felt. It is the foundation of our human selfhood, which gives you individuality. It is the energy of your human consciousness. It makes you distinct and unique from everyone else. In order to preserve your individuality, the ego must protect you from outside attack of any kind, and it must give you what you need to help you prosper, flourish, grow, and can be happy. And the way of the world is to do that with force or fear or whatever. The way of love does it with perfect interaction. This is divinely ordained and not to be treated with contempt. The ego constitutes an all-important and very necessary nucleus of consciousness of creation, development, and growth. The ego is exclusively governed by the electrical current of activity consciousness, the go-go impulse apparent in all living things, even in plants which turn and display their foliage to catch the sun in the best possible way. This is a movement conceived in the go-go electrical field and in the bonding desire emotional field in the consciousness of the plant, to enable the plant to grow and enjoy the warmth of the sun. The ego in every living thing, okay, every living thing, hear that, it's not only human. The ego is that part that's of our physical nature for all that we deserve, our nourishment, our nurturement, everything. So the ego is that level of consciousness for us to exist in the form, whatever we've taken, whether a plant or a human. The ego in every living thing is that seat of the earthly consciousness only. Only, okay? The physical may not be aware of its spiritual consciousness. It may not be aware of its purpose. Okay? The human, however, that's part of our consciousness, self-awareness. Everything is self-aware. We know it. I don't think a tree knows it's a tree. It just knows it is. But I could be wrong. You know, I know there are tests that can, there are exceptions to everything, and I think that we can all communicate with one another consciously, telepathically. I haven't developed that for human as well as nature, but I know it exists. I know the possibilities there because we're all one. The ego drive, the drive which is directed exclusively at getting what it wants, to make the individual entity happy, and to protect it from attack to ensure its survival, and will trample on other entities or species to achieve its purposes, pertains to the earthly dimension only. The ego force is active within every living thing, from the least amoeba to the mightiest king. You could call the ego drive the protector and dictator of the living universe. It is at this point that the majority of people in your world today become confused when contemplating the possibility of the existence of a God, in quotes. They review the activities of various species driven by the ego consciousness, the one feeding on another to obtain sustenance, and these people decide that this savagery must be the working of the Creator. How then can the Creator be a God of love? If this God of love allows and creates this conflict within itself. This is one of the misapprehensions and beliefs I would like to sweep away. It is my purpose, my Christ purpose, is my purpose that all people should come to realize that the entire universe has at its basic core and foundation in all things the divine life force, which inspires and respires through all of creation. It is the hidden but powerful equilibrium out of which all things have taken being, form, and shape. It is the scientist's space in which is conducted the movement and bonding of the electrical particles. It is both the impenetrable and forever unknowable ground of existence, and also the hidden source of all substance, of all things in the universe. It will never be found because it's not physical. How can something non-physical be found? We can find it as we sense it, but we can't see life. We just see the results of life. And that's what Christ is challenging the scientists to open to. He's challenging us to challenge the scientists to open to that word called consciousness, that it's before anything that is. And then there's this ultimate universal consciousness that's even there, that the consciousness comes from. That's why Christ tells us we can't go to that dimension, because if we go that dimension, we have to be unconscious. And if we think we know what unconscious is, we have not a clue. It's the no thingness. And yet, the readiness to become anything and everything. The ego is the tool of divine creativity to produce individuality out of the unity of its own beingness. The ego is the tool of divine creativity to produce individuality out of the unity of its own beingness. This is what distinguishes a human again. We can think, plan, activate, and remember. You know, these elements of the human mind that we have developed since clubbing our prey for eating and living in caves even before fire, you know, and then fire came and this changed things, and the wheel came and this changed things, and on. Humankind has been evolving our consciousness. We're evolving it in the physical, technological area, but we're not evolving it, or we are evolving it now in our spiritual consciousness that began 2019 years ago with the birth of Jesus. Okay, he came to show us who and what we are. And now Christ has come back to say, okay, all that you have believed about Jesus, now let me give it the true dimension on it, because instead of this being a man of 2,000 years ago, I'm going to have you find it to that Christ being that's already within you, that existed before you even existed. Okay. What I am about to say will be wholly disputed by your scientists. Nonetheless, I am about to refer to the souls of those earthly beings whose intellect is sufficiently evolved to debate and decide on a course of action, and with even only partial understanding, I've just expressed, just a partial understanding, respond intuitively and intelligently to what is happening in the environment. These entities, all of us, are of all more advanced species, are the genius of their kind. Do not judge the inner development of any species, human or otherwise, by their outer physical bodies. All living things are individualized out of the same divine life. But to recognize this, and to recognize this within, through, and as everyone and everything that is the whole purpose of these letters. Because in this we find at the core of our being, we are all one. That the energy that I am, the energy that you are, is that whole divine energy of the universe, where there's no thing and everything, you know. Yeah. Some psyches are enabled by their increasingly spiritualized mental emotional fields to peer through the ego consciousness and embark on neighborly, caring acts which can only proceed from the promptings of the soul drawn from the divine reality. There are those who are so attuned to our oneness that they can actually connect with the energy of another being and kind of read where that energy is. And there are also those who are charlatans, who are false. But if we trust and believe, and we will be led and guided to the right one if we're sincerely seeking that. Therefore, the greatest respect and consideration should be accorded to all living things. Spiders, snakes, slugs, worms, birds of prey, cats, dogs, every living thing, including all living humans, should have the greatest respect and consideration for each other. Okay? Where the species has evolved to the point of formulating clear ideas and thoughts and putting them into sounds and words, and the spiritual development of psyche can penetrate the ego consciousness, the psyche begins to question. This is the awakening. As we awaken, you know, I mean, just think of it. Every morning as we awaken, we're wondering, what am I going to do with this day? And so our psyche is also awakening to, wow, there's something I forgot or didn't know I was. And it feels so wonderful. So it starts asking questions. Is this all there is to life? Was yesterday the best it can get? What is my life purpose or our life purpose? Etc. And we can ask those questions of anything and everything in our lives. And if we're listening with those intuitive ears that Christ has just told us we're connected with, that life force that we are, that divine life that we are, these questions are answered from a very higher plane of understanding. When this happens, the soul is beginning to impress the psyche with an urgent need to reach out to its source of being, which it instinctively knows does exist and is its true home and resting place. The soul's hidden but continual longing to be reunited with its source of being can now be felt by the psyche. And as I was reading that, I was thinking about, you know, the baby naturally knows to go to the mother's breast to feed. If it weren't guided, you know, I mean, we feel we have to move it there, but the baby automatically knows. You see this in all the animals. You know, the firstborn knows how to go to the go to the parent for nourishment and nurturement, and the parent will guide and help it along the way. So now there's this spiritual part of us that's awakened, and the spiritual part of us is seeking something like Christ's letters or A Course in Miracles or New Thought teachings or whatever. But that, as that psyche arises to, there's something more to life. There's got to be something more to life than this. When that question, when that opening comes, the universe is right there to say, welcome home. Welcome home, my dear son, my beloved, my daughter. If there are people who never reach this vital development in their lives, it is because the ego, mental, emotional processes are so strongly geared to the existence of intelligence and reason, that when other people ask questions such as, how did life begin? Is there a God? How has such a wonderful universe been designed and created? The ego of the non-seeker and non-believer is conscious only of its own omnipotence. How omnipotent can I believe God to be? If I believe God's this much power, then that's as much power as it has. If I believe God has this much power, it has this much power. If I believe God has this much power, if I believe God has power beyond my imagination of what that power is and how it's used, I'm raising myself to a higher consciousness. So the non-seeker is confined in, the truth that they believe. Okay. So the non-seeker and non-believer is conscious only of its own omnipotence and sets out to disprove there is any higher dimension out of which the earth could have taken form. It argues away the voice of soul relayed through the psyche, and with each argument entombs itself more firmly within the perceptions of the material and visible world, which represent their only security. And in there they feel lack. Therefore, the soul remains imprisoned within the ego, emotional, mental, electrical, magnetic chains, and the human mind remains convinced that there is no soul, that the earthly dimension of existence and the physical life force are the only realities. In such people's minds are determined to reject any inspirational whispers from the psyche, soul. The body suffers minor ailments, relationships are strained, and life generally is stressful. A disease may follow. This is because such a person is drawing only on the limited resources of energy, drawn from the food they put in their mouths. This energy proceeds from a chemical process and not from the source of all life. So the food contains life. When I'm blessing a meal, which I live in blessing, so I generally don't do it, but when I'm asked, I claim, as Gibran teaches us, that the life that has been given to me to use will someday be asked of me to give back, to be used in other ways. So all life is to be respected. And there's much more to food than the physical nourishment and satisfaction. It's also spiritual life. That's why the blessing is necessary, because we don't know how that food has been handled before. So when it comes into our presence, we bring the energy of love and peace and joy and harmony and goodness into it. And then as we take that in, we're taking that in physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. We're getting the full benefit of it. Or you have drawn your life initially from divine reality, and it has given you being. You also draw your physical energy from your food and the digestive processes which manufacture enzymes to break down the food into a usable form which feeds the physical cells throughout your body and mind. This is the life of the body. Many people live and die drawing exclusively on the energy derived from their physical processes. The type and amount of energy drawn from physical processes is greatly affected by the mental, electrical, and emotional magnetic fields of the living entity. Again, that's why a blessing for meals, especially if you're in an uproar, maybe if you prepared the meal and you're worried it didn't turn out good, or things happen during it and everything, and you sit down to eat, well, it's time to let that energy go, because that energy is in the meal. That energy is there. So it's time to neutralize that and just bring it to the place where I only receive and accept the pure nourishment that's meant for my body, mind, and soul. These electrical and magnetic fields surrounding every living thing, from an amoeba to an elephant and human being, are the personal life force radiations from the soul, combined with the personal consciousness awareness radiations of the entity's mental, emotional, go-go activity and its emotional magnetic bonding rejection impulses. These electrical magnetic fields are profoundly affected by all the thoughts and feelings which pass through the minds and emotions of the entity. In turn, the fields profoundly affect the physical processes of the body itself. They raise or lower the health of the body according to the state of the personal consciousness, whether it is in harmony with the life force radiations of divine intelligence, love, or in conflict with them due to selfish ego drives. Again, just the example I gave of the blessing, in a moment, we can neutralize it. If we've had a confrontation that's been felt of a negative or conflictive, or any energy at all that is not harmonious, it's time to just bless the situation, bless ourselves, bring ourselves back to that place of peace. We create our attitudes, no one else. They can affect them, but we create them. We're the ones that hold them. We're the ones that react to our own attitude. And the beauty is that we can control our attitude instead of our attitude controlling us. If I believe my attitude controls me, if I believe my emotions are my reality, then I'm locked in. But if I believe that my emotions are a result of my thought, I can change my thought and I can change my emotions. So I can go from frazzle to calm and serenity in a moment, in a breath, in the twinkling of an eye. Just in the conscious impulse of choosing something different. A miserable entity dwindles and dies. A happy entity flourishes. This is a basic fact of existence. In the final analysis, each living entity feeds upon its own inner state of contentment or frustration. See, things like this just affirm me so beautifully. And remembering when I wasn't in the state of consciousness of the frustration of wanting to be what I didn't think I could be. You can see the truth of this statement in the physical and consciousness development of a baby. A contented, happy child flourishes, laughs easily, is filled with joy. Contact with a loving mother enhances the child's well-being. The loving, contented relations from mother to baby feed the little one's consciousness radiations and in turn build up strength in the tiny body. As a child develops, its developing personality begins to color its soul radiations with bright or dark consciousness force, which either reinforce the child's health or depletes it. A person with a strong psychic sense can see the electromagnetic fields becoming dim when an individual or animal is being depleted of field energy, although at the time neither individual nor animal may be registering physical dis-ease. It may be a day or so before the body itself begins to manifest the consciousness energy depletion in some term of exhaustion or illness. You have on Earth people who have developed equipment to record this phenomenon. And in years to come, to be able to, people who see auras, I do not, but people see auras, and I know they see auras. I have seen in, in an exercise. I've seen it. I've been, well, anyway. So, but Christ is saying here that there's something big coming, because this is going to be the way of the future for healing, not only at the physical, because it happens at all levels, but when we heal at the consciousness level, wow, the physical is automatically healed. Okay, so you have on Earth people who have developed equipment to record this phenomenon, the reading of energy. And in years to come, this will be the recognized method of diagnosing and treating an oncoming ailment. Furthermore, as the technology of spiritual scientific knowledge evolves, the exact mental emotional state responsible for the physical depletion will first be revealed under hypnosis and recorded electronically. It will be recorded in frequencies of vibration on screens. This will be followed by an electronic investigation depicting the frequencies of vibration of the various parts of the body on similar screens. This process will involve color changes, for every pattern of consciousness is first manifested both in frequencies of vibration and color. By comparing the mental emotional frequencies of vibration with the frequencies of vibration of the body parts, the organ depleted of energy, together with the mental emotional cause, will be pinpointed. No longer will psychiatrists delve into past experiences, probing, pigeonholing, producing pronouncements as to the likely origins or causes of mental, emotional, physical disorders, and then providing human rationalizations with which to combat them. So there's a greater science coming, is what Christ is saying. The truth of the spiritual state of the inner man will be clearly revealed and will lay the sure foundation for the necessary spiritual instruction and meditative mental work to be done to enable the individual to regain health, vitality, new perspectives, and goals, and a deepening capacity for unconditional love. And this is how we will learn to treat our society. So our so-called criminal element, our mentally ill element, our all will be brought through this into the true nature of us, which is pure, spiritual, unconditional love. Naturally, drugs will no longer be used to raise the consciousness radiations of the sufferer, since the depletion of divine life, soul energy, is responsible for the illness. He or she will be taught how to deliberately, systematically raise the frequencies of vibration of the affected area of the body, and how to deal with the personal circumstances causing the psychological discomfort and depletion of soul energy. Doesn't that sound so healthy? The patient will also be dramatically assisted by an inflow of divine energy from the hands of those who are true channels of pure spiritual life. With the revitalizing procedures, new perceptions and control of ego drives, the physical condition will be quickly cleared up within days, if not immediately. However, on reading these letters, you can begin to effect your own healing. Paramount in your self-treatment must be these instructions regarding the divine reality powering existence, and the right way to tune into it and draw divine life into the healing process. From without within. When you begin to draw on the life of the divine reality by means of your own spiritual search, asking questions, meditating, reading, and praying, you open your psyche up from its enclosed ego consciousness, earthly dreaming. You draw into mind and emotions the nature of the divine reality itself. All that passes through your mind and emotions is passed into the electromagnetic fields surrounding you. Actually, it comes through them. So we're sending out that which we are receiving. We send out that which we are receiving. So if we're sending out fear, we're receiving that which we fear. We're sending out love, we are receiving love. So this is why conscious awareness is so important of Where is my awareness? What facet of my being is that awareness on? Sorry, I'm going to go back to the beginning of the paragraph. When I try to pick up, it's like, oh, let me go back further. When I looked, it's back to the beginning. When you begin to draw on the life, and that's a conscious choice now, okay? This is a choice. When you begin to draw on the life, okay, that's a choice. We're drawing on something higher. The way I say it, we're looking to the thought above the thought I'm thinking. There's always something higher than what I'm thinking. There's always something bigger than the bigness that I can imagine. Okay, I'm realizing constantly through these letters, reading them since 2006. Okay, and having conversations and discussions and bring them into my Science of Mind classes and all of my life. I bring these letters in because they're pure and whole, and they're healing and they're healthy for all people. I'll go back to the reading. When you begin to draw on the life of the divine reality by means of your own spiritual search, which is again the seeking, which is a conscious effort, asking questions, meditating, reading and praying, you begin to open your psyche up from its enclosed ego consciousness, earthly dreaming. You draw into your mind and emotions the nature of the divine reality itself. All that passes through your mind and emotions is passed into the electromagnetic field surrounding you. These contribute to your strength. As your electromagnetic fields are energized by the power you draw from divine reality, so is the power passed back into your physical body. And each organ becomes ever more healthy, and any dysfunctions are gradually cleared up. It is vital for you to remember these physical electromagnetic field processes, because the knowledge will both inspire and encourage your daily meditation and attunement with the divine reality. And wow, and listen to what the Christ just revealed through the words I said, okay? That I'm sending out into my consciousness activity and receiving back from it that which I've sent out. Every thought is a prayer, we're told. Every thought is a ping into the divine consciousness to bring back that which I've pinged out there. Okay, back to the letter. And oops, I realized in looking where we're beginning that I went past where we ended. So next week we will start with, however, I'm reading these letters, which will be 7F, and that will conclude the reading of letter 7. We just have a few pages, but too many to go into now. So thank you for being with me at this time. Thank you for all that you've brought forth. I just have really appreciated the depth and being of this particular recording. So thank you for being with me and bring it forth from the Christ of me, from the Christ universal through the Christ of me to the Christ of you, to the Christ within you. So many blessings. Have a blessed year. Make this your year to have the kingdom of heaven within you and your world, the era of love and peace and joy within you. And as you have it within yourself, you radiate it and bring it forth from the world around you. Namaste. Be blessed. Make this the best year ever. And if you want to converse anything with me, if you would like to, I don't know, have a question, or if you have some conflict where you don't see how Christ's letters applies, feel free to write to me, chapelinthesky@aol.com. That's chapelinthesky@aol.com. No boundaries, no walls, no ceilings, no floors. Just the freedom of the universe. And if you're interested in other of my YouTube, I have a YouTube channel called chapel-in-the-sky, and the hyphens are necessary. And look for my picture. It's near the top. So click on it. I've got a lot of very interesting YouTubes. So God bless you. God bless us all. Bye-bye for now.